What is up, Fabrication Nation? So, gonna do some work on the Bibbster today. And to be honest with you, I haven't really worked on any more flanges. So the only ones I've got done are the driver's side, the front part. But I figured the least I could do is maybe knock out that one panel in this video. And then I'll worry about all the flanges for the rest of it later. So the last video, if you didn't see it, I basically came in here and put all these flanges in. This is gonna be for the floor pan itself. We're gonna do the floor pan out of aluminum. I've already bought a couple sheets. I've got some 063, I think 063, and some 050 3003 aluminum. Got 2 full sheets of that for this thing. And I've actually got a little sheet left of, well, just some stuff that I had left over. So we're gonna make the first panel out of that. And that way, if I don't like it, then we can go to the super clean stuff. I think that'll be all right. I can probably, when I scuff it, a lot of the little scratches, a lot of these little scratches and stuff may disappear. So we'll try that first. And I have already made a dummy panel. So got a bunch of stuff from Fronius, more stuff from Fronius, and it came with some boxes. So perfect timing. Now I've got some cardboard to make some mock-up panels with. So there you go. I had a ton of comments on the last episode on how I was going to actually maybe fit these panels. It's actually not that hard. I just took some cardboard, put it up underneath the Bibbster, took a Sharpie, kind of marked the inside of that that frame that I made. So if you look on this panel, you can kind of see where I marked it initially, which is just right inside that frame. And then I actually knew the thickness of this based on the material that I welded in there. So I just took that material, put it on there, and then when I cut it, obviously I just cut it just a little bit short. And it's a pretty dang good fit. I wouldn't even be trying that hard, to be honest with you. So I've also came in here and did like a little mock design as well. I don't really like it, and I really don't know what I want to do here. I thought about doing some kind of like circle with some kind of points on it, you know, kind of have a vintage look to it. I thought about obviously doing something like this, which is probably what I'm going to do, something very simple. Don't want to get too carried away with the design on this thing, so I'll probably just have these little panels that are rolled in it. I think what I'll change from this though is this section up here. I think I'm gonna move it back maybe a little bit, or maybe just have it come straight across like that. I don't want to get too far up into this pedal configuration. And what I may do as well is actually add some other pieces to this panel, whether it's under it or on top of it, maybe some kind of like kick plate, who knows. So for now, we'll just basically cut that one panel, we'll bead roll it up, kind of see what it looks like, and we can go from there. I'll determine whether I like it or not, whether I want to change it or not, add to it, that sort of thing. So let's do that. You know what's crazy is this tool here is not all fancy and glorious. It's not a power hammer and English wheel. But this right here has got to be one of my favorite all-time sheet metal tools for sure. Love this thing. It just works. I actually did a Friday video on that thing a long time ago. I mean, this thing just buzzes off these little curly cues of aluminum. I mean, it is a little bit of wasted material, but shoot, man, the time you save, it's well worth it. So that's the roughed in panel there. Let's go. We'll go slide this thing in the Bibbster and just kind of see, make sure that it fits. What you doing, Weezer? Just a smidge long. Other than that, though, it looks pretty good. Alright, so we'll just trim this thing up just a little bit. It's just a little bit long on the back side. That's what he said. And we should be good to go. We'll be ready to do some bead rolling. Panel looks pretty good. It fit pretty good. I'm just gonna take a file. Sometimes this thing right here will leave some really sharp just cuts, I guess. It'll get you. So I'm gonna hit it with a file real quick and just try to knock those off. And I can kind of straighten this thing up just a smidge, you know. Those little tiny areas that aren't perfectly straight, I can kind of get them things straight. Round the corners off a little bit, just clean it up. It's funny, I did a video years ago with Chris Marshall from Mars Fab. You might remember that video if you're a long-time subscriber. He said something to me that kind of stuck with me, and that was that, you know, the file itself is one of those really old tools that's highly underrated and actually highly underused. It's not used as much as a lot of other tools, you know. Everything's kind of grinders and whatever's take the place of it, but this is just a old school go-to tool. Gets the job done, you know. Kind of takes you back to the roots of what you're doing here. You're putting your heart and soul into these projects. A file is one of those things that lets you transfer that into your project. Lets you transfer that heart, that soul, transfer that soul into it. It's got grind marks you made with your hands, not with a machine. If you don't have some good files, go get you some good files and see what I'm talking about. Some of your own heart in your project. Well, I think I found a design I like. So we'll go ahead and bead roll this thing up. Kind of see what it looks like with some dimension in it. Just gonna swap over these dies right quick. And so if you're not familiar with bead rollers and how they work, I'll give you like a really fast crash course. So you got some rollers that are stepped like this. So I don't know if you can see that. See how that's got like a step in it? Well, maybe not. So anyway, you got some that are stepped like this. These are steel. And then you've got all your standard. You just want to roll just a regular old bead. You got the kind that fit inside of each other. These are steel as well. The problem with the steel ones is they work well, but they tend to mar up your aluminum a lot. Especially when you're kind of turning, they'll want to mar that corner up. So Mittler Brothers makes these really nice, I think they're made of Delrin, which is a really, really hard plastic. They work great. They don't mar up the aluminum. They get the job done. But yeah, they just have a nicer finish to them. So that's what I'm switching over to now. This top die is what they call a tipping die, and then the bottom one is just one of their standard dies. And this is just gonna kind of give me that nice little bevel that I'm looking for in this thing. So that's the rough panel so far. You can kind of see what we're after. Now it does kind of, when you bead roll, it kind of does warp the panels. There's the ways to combat that, but because this is a floor panel that I'm gonna have riveted in there, I can kind of force it to do what I want it to. I can force it to flatten out, and it won't stay like this. Now, if this panel was gonna be somewhere else where you couldn't do that, there are some things you can do to kind of keep it from doing that, but I wasn't worried about it. So now all I want to do is I want to just clean this thing up. Just a little bit, a little acetone. It doesn't matter how permanent your markers are. It can be a Sharpie, it can be the Milwaukee's. Acetone is the magic eraser. So every mark that I've made on this panel will just come right off. Now I've got the panel nice and clean. This was a clean sheet of aluminum, didn't have any scratches in it. You could put this panel in just like it is. But if you've been watching the channel, you know that I like to basically put a grain in my material. So I like to use these Scotch-Brites. I actually buy these things by the case. Usually what I'll do is I'll take them, cut them up. Cut them into smaller pieces. Sometimes I'll even cut them down to like that. Then I'll just take one of these. I make like consistent strokes. I try to make consistent strokes in this thing. I don't want to just be all over the place. I want them like, I want a grain in this thing. There you go. That's kind of the basics of what I like. Obviously, this panel's not finished. Between now and when the Bibbster's basically done, I'll probably rescuff it, coat it, kind of protect it a little bit. But for now, I'm just going to kind of leave it as it is, because these things will be in and out and all around and adjusted and, you know, probably scratched and all that kind of stuff. One last thing I want to do though is I am going to go ahead and mark for rivets on this panel, because I'm gonna have to put a couple clecos in this thing to hold it in, and I'll just drill those holes where the rivet's gonna go. So this bad boy here is what they call a rivet spacer. I have done a video on this tool, as I probably have done with every tool I own, and basically all this does is helps you evenly space holes or marks. What I like to do is I don't use every one. I tend to skip one. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use this, kind of evenly space some holes on this thing, and mark it up so we can put this thing in the Bibbster. Alright, well, just like Bruce Buffer says, it is time to put this panel in. Well, he doesn't really say that part, but it is time. So there you go, the very first panel in the Bibbster. I'm really excited to start putting panels in this thing because I feel like it's gonna give you guys more of an idea of my vision on this thing. It's gonna kind of bring to light what I see this entire thing being, and that's basically that. A bunch of those, bunch of rawness, bead rolling, some dimple dyes, just all in all, rawness. That's what I'm about. I want to see the work. I want to hide nothing. If there's a blemish, you're gonna see it. I mean, I don't make mistakes though, so. There it is. You open the door, you're gonna kind of see a bunch of that up the firewall. You're gonna see a seat that's all made out of carbon and aluminum. I actually like the design pretty good. I wasn't too sure about it as I was sketching it out, but I think I like it. Probably what I'll do is kind of continue these little support pieces kind of up the trans tunnel, kind of angle them back a little bit probably. But the design will kind of copy that floor pan there. And then obviously I'll make an exact reverse negative of that panel on this side, so it'll go back this way. Alright guys, well, if you think that is as badass as I think it is, smash the like button. I don't think I've ever said that before, but just do it anyway. Panel, the very first panel. Anyway, it's hot. I'm going inside, take a shower. As always, thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys some more this week. Go do work, son.